encourage you to share our program, like our program, subscribe to Studio Galaxy. We believe that we could change things. We believe that people must discuss issues. It doesn't matter what the issue is. You could discuss issues, advance your arguments. The statements you make, you must put some arguments for it. Today we are saying that government of Grenada is responsible for the high cost of living in the country. Yes, there are a number of other factors that contribute to high cost of living that the government of Grenada do not have control on. But we believe the upsurge in the high cost of living is as a direct result of the actions of government. What they did when they enter government and what they continue to do now is causing prices to be out of control. So we're making this statement. Government is responsible for the high cost of living in Grenada. Every government that comes in power is mindful of the high cost of living. Sometimes we say we're in a free market and let the market determine the price. But that is easy to say than to do. Because you have a number of people, because of the socio-economic situation, would starve if you do not have government intervention. In other words, they will see trouble. They will catch a hell. They will catch a nene. So governments in the past have taken some actions. You notice I didn't say necessary actions. They have taken some actions to keep some basic price low so that the ordinary man, the poor of the poor, the vulnerable, could still have basic goods, basic needs. And that is perhaps common in every country. In capitalist country, in socialist country. Because now we know there is no pure system. There is no pure capitalism. And there is no pure communist either. I get is a question of the degree of government intervention. In Grenada, the MNIB, at that time, the M was nothing. The Importing Board, I think it was called, started to control the price of certain commodities, basic commodities. I think it was sugar, rice, milk. That is some of the basic commodities in Grenada and the Caribbean. If sugar price raise, rice price raise, and milk price raise, our people in serious trouble. Not the well-off people, not the big businessmen, not those who are generally intellectuals, doctors, lawyers, senior public officers, insurance salesmen. You know, they're not really affected if the price their survival, I shouldn't say they're not affected, but their survival is not threatened. We had the 1974 crisis, and I think that is when gas price reached $5. I don't think it ever come down. And sugar was $5. And some parents bought icing sugar in the shop to sweeten the children's tea. The stuff. Government decided to control the price of certain things. There are certain commodities in Grenada that have price control. So rice, milk, flour, sugar, some tin stuff. Government have a department you call, I think it's price controllers. They go around to different supermarkets to see that the price is kept within a certain area. You have people go around to check scales. They want to make certain that you're not robbing the people in the scale. So when you say you're giving them a pound, you might be conveniently giving them 15 ounces. I believe it's 16 ounces in a pound.
16 ounces, yeah.
But if you're giving them 15 ounces and you're able to tip an ounce,
you win
for the day, and every day you're able to get 10 ounces for yourself, and you multiply it by the week, and you multiply it by the year, and you multiply it by 20 years, you see the impact of it. So even the measure, that is a measure to help to keep price down. The NDC government won election. They got 9 seats. That brought me back to 1976. They got 9 seats. And immediately, they took some actions that caused an upsurge in the cost of living. They raised the price of sugar. Sugar was a controlled price. There was no VAT on sugar. They raised the price of sugar. They raised the price of water. And they raised the price on electricity. There was just concern, but no hue and cry in the country. Because I believe there was such a relentless attack, demeaning and marginalized language on the vulnerable, that the vulnerable stay quiet. And those who believe they're in a new privilegencia class and was not affected did not champion the cause of the vulnerable. And because the previous government, the NNP, was chastised brutally for propagating, for using, and for creating a vulnerable group for the purpose for them to vote for them, the NNP remains silent. The government raised the price of sugar. They raised the price of water. And they raised the price of electricity. When you do that, almost all other prices would raise. Some transport buses will say gas price raise. So instead, I would not go back in town for this last trip. This last trip, it doesn't be so healthy. I may have more delays on the road. I want to make certain my bus full before I leave. So whereas the busman will take off with 5 passengers, he said no, nothing under 13. So indirectly, without the bosses even realizing it, they was making less trips on the road. It means that some people were not able to go to work on time. More complain about transport, gas prices, water price rates. That doesn't necessarily affect the businessman or the workers that goes to work. You pay in the money and you go to work. You drink water by the company. Mm-hmm. You use the company toilet facility. And you go back in at your home. So the impact of that raise would not have been so dramatic. But what did he do? The neighbor that used to take water from your pipe, and he wasn't so pleased, but you did not used to complain.
But now you will complain.
You start to complain.
Yeah.
You start to tell us she washing. You want to make excuse to stop her from taking water, but you don't want to tell her blatantly, don't take water. So when she call you, you're not answering. And some of these people, you saw more people going to the government standpipe. You saw more people going back in the river to wash. It is not easy to observe these changes in the society because around the very time the government start introducing or putting a greater line of demarcation between the privilegencia and those who you might consider as have not. So you heard words immediately with great regularity in the country, like classes,
commoners,
and commoners,
beggy,
and beggy. And you heard some of the militant members of the NDC calling on radio programs and saying, let them starve. Let them pound stone in the river. Imagine the comments that was making in arguments that somebody would not have called the radio to see. So more and more of the poor was disadvantaged. They had a disadvantage. They had less money coming in. You raise the price of sugar. You raise the price of electricity. You raise the price of water. Some of the goodwill that was extended by the neighbor was cut short. You have a number of people involved in the confectionery industry. I like that one. Long ago, we didn't waste time with this big one. She making sugar cake.
Confectionery.
And donkey teeth. And tart. And ginger sweets. I like papa balls too. And papa balls. Because you had a significant raise in price of sugar. Almost 100% raise. These people find it less profitable to make and sell the confectioneries. Even the people who were making potato pudding, they too start to disappear from the market. Because the government raised the price of sugar, water, and electricity, almost everything else raised. So some people just raise the price. So the farmers say, well, I'm raising my cabbage price too.
Yeah.
I'm raising my potato price too.
Sugar go up, everything going up.
Blogger and fig price go up too.
Yeah.
the government of Grenada contributed to the upsurge in the cost of living. To add insult to injury, the government decided that they would not work for that kind of money. The government didn't set up a commission, to say, look at a broad-based commission and say, look at the price, the cost of what a politician working for, and say we take the recommendations of the commission. No, 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 no. The government just add $2,000 on the politician. And the government say this money is for transport, so they don't have to pay taxes. They have to pay the driver. And later on, a minister of government say we don't working for enough money, man. When I get me pay only $2 that remain, so the government practically double their salary. So there was salary move over 10, almost 14,000. Later on, what happened? The government said, these people are making money, so I'll give them an additional 10,000. Because they said the politician have to give people any money. I tired of this nonsense. So the government said we will give them 10,000 more so they could make charity. It's the first time in the history of Grenada politicians were given money to make charity. So when a politician meet me, if I press him, he might buy around him.
Here you go, pass it.
If a woman press him, he might give her $1,000 to buy ice cream. That is what the government did. So a politician moved from about $6,000 or $7,000 to about $24,000 to $25,000 as income. Now other sectors start to see that. The government then said, I guess they start to feel embarrassed. So they decided to raise some people's pay. So they did a minimum wage package and raised it. An agricultural worker used to work for about $45. But some of them used to get $60 and $70. The government raised the price to $60. So the person who was getting $45, if you have a new worker coming, you can't give him the same as a man who getting 45. So you might have to give him 50. And the worker you had, because you're well satisfied with him, you were giving him $70 a day. Well, he said they got a raise from 45 to 60. So even if you give him $75, he don't satisfy. So farmers now have to cut down on the workforce. Give them less days. But in the same vein, cost of production go up. So the farmers have to raise the commodity. You see, it's so sad that when we gambled and we selected a whole bunch of political neophytes, we didn't value experience. So these individuals are doing things without a plan, without consultation with the elderly in the party, and without doing analysis to understand the repercussions and the consequences before they do what they do. There was no need for the government to fire people. But when the government came in, they fired about 3,000 people. Some of them have since been reabsorbed that might be a better word, reabsorb in the area of security, because government have increased the amount of people involved in security. But they became on the breadline. So people in the private sector who was already paying $1,200, if you have 10 workers and the minimum a worker was getting was $1,200, government raised the price to $1,200 now. So you might have had a worker getting 14, 15, 12. So automatically, the private sector was forced to increase salary. When businessmen increase salary, they would increase price. So although the government said they're dropping the price on condo, the government like condom and panty liner. They drop the taxes on condom and panty liner. Businessmen don't drop in that cost. You don't drop in that cost. So the cost on panty liner or condoms would the farmer, the consumer would not really benefit from it. The government, the businessman is going to raise the price of goods that are not under price control. There are some goods in Grenada under price control, but alcohol not on price control. Clothespin not on price control. A lot of so-called medicine, Vicks Vapor Rub, not under price control. Powder not under price control. So automatically, mosquito coil might move from $1.60 to $3. That not under price control. Pregnancy test not under price control. Is condom you drop, not pregnancy test. And anybody would tell you more pregnancy tests selling in the shop
than anything else.
Than condom. Because people are wasting time much to put on condom. Man might put on condom if he have a problem with what used to be sex appeal is now your water spout and you have a condom to collect the water. So you see what the government did wasn't practical. Government increased the cost of it. Government dropped the method by which they pay to every 2 weeks. To pay on the 15th of the month, not every 2 weeks. You have 12 months in a year. So they say you're going to pay twice a month. You're going to pay on the 15th. In the initial stage, the initial fallout, and up to today you see government having little struggles because of sometimes cash flow. That is expected. And all that would contribute to an increase in cost of living. I make the statement, the government of Grenada has contributed to the upsurge in cost of living, and it was not necessary. Why do I say it was not necessary? The government is the first time in history a government come to power and it was in donkey glory because they say the treasury full of money. So why was it necessary to raise the cost of sugar, electricity, and water? No justification, no relationship. The government actions, because remember, the government of Grenada is the biggest employer, and businessmen and employers take the lead from government. Because government fired workers that was working with them up to 23 years and 19 years, KEMCO used that yardstick at that time to get rid of workers. Well, KEMCO is a big company. What somebody personal, 1 or 2 workers, domestic workers, people say, I can't pay her that money. I don't want to fight with her. I don't want to fire. So I will make confusion with her that she go.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of people in that category lost their job because the employer was not prepared to pay them that money to see after the old folks. You have to remember, some people want the old people dead. Say, Mommy, the long, she's not dying. And now I have to pay more to keep her. So the finally made, they said, oh, I love my mother. I go do that for myself. But your mother knows she catching hell. She dead 3 weeks after.
Mm-hmm.
So let me, So the government of Grenada. But continue to look at the behavior of the government. The government behaving like a group of people that on coke. And they inherit money. Or they get a money on the street. The government is traveling. Their traveling now is practically embarrassing. We saw on social media, don't know whether it's sure now, that Mia Mottley expended $1.7 million in her time in government. I think it's almost two periods. But Deacon Mitchell spent $8 million in 2 years. You heard stories that another member of the NDC, a female member, wrote up a bill in excess of $20,000. One have to understand, with all these factors, and you hear ministers are living luxurious and gala life, the people in the communities making a fete too. They say the minister could make a fete, I'm making a fete too. Not knowing that the minister is making fete from government money, not her money. So you saw more body fetes raising in small communities. Because if the priest could play, who is me? That's why I see the government of Grenada is responsible for the upsurge in crime. And productivity have to be an important factor. The government of Grenada is responsible for the upsurge in crime, for the upsurge in the cost of living. The cost of living. And as the cost of living increase, patience and temptation become the order of the day. I want to appeal to our economists, those in the trade union, those in the bank, those in the credit unions. You top echelons, you top ZAS in economics, your master's degree, who have been around, to join us. Call on programs. Express your opinions. Some of them have served the government well, and they have reached the age of retirement. Some have taken early retirement. But we must inform our people. We have a responsibility and an obligation not to hide this information. Tell the people. What they do with it is their business. But you must provide the information for them. We must be able to say what the government is doing that we believe is counterproductive towards development. We must be able to say that. We are no longer children. We are big people. And we're responsible for the actions we take. If you take a certain action, and after that you end up in the police hand, you want sympathy. The government didn't stop there. You know. The government went and interfered with the bank. An institution that will respect far and wide. The government decided these institutions have plenty of money in it. Let we get some of the money. Well, no way. No politician. The law says no politician or the immediate relatives or associates cannot take loan in the bank. They cannot take loans in the bank. The government flaunted the law and provide loan for them. So automatically, the friends see them driving, the friends want a car. We have to be realistic as a people. We have to be practical as people. When the government says something, we have to examine it to see if there is any truth in what he says or what she says. We can't just take what they say and behave as if we're in kindergarten. We are reasoning so that could happen. And you could give us a call. You could join us on the program. The program is always 536-2558. You could jam us and give us a call. We speak about the government actions that cause the downfall in cost of living, that cause cost of living salaries to be increased, to rise. You have to agree that confidence is a very important thing in economies, particularly small economies like us. You have to have confidence in the economy. So if the businessmen say, well, I could have paid me sharp, but I don't find things looking good for next year. Next year I go live it. They break that drive to succeed. And they start believing things bad. And one of the measures people do when they believe things bad is to become more conservative. They raise the price of goods. Particularly the price that is not controlled. You see much more middlemen selling goods. And the prices are higher and higher every day. The government of Grenada have to take the blame for the upsurge in the cost of living. The government should go back and look at it. You are the ones responsible. We speak about confidence. And everybody could make mistakes. Every politician make mistakes. And we don't readily go after politicians. But if a politician is consistently doing things wrong, we believe that we must address it. You know, the Prime Minister and his team decide that information must be guarded jealously. So information is not given out to the public. The radio personalities that don't have the energy, the wherewithal to do the research, they will be on hearsay. But they're going to repeat the things they hear as if it is brand new. That is not good for the country. The government level of using obscenities and telling lies has baffled the most ordinary human being. Simple question put to the government ministers, and they are telling you lies. Come on. There are things you need to research and find out. If the community is crying out over something, you are the parliamentary representative. Try to see if there is any justification in it. And you don't have to tell lies with such regularity to our people. It's quite true that every now and then somebody might slip up, but you don't have the right to sell. You don't have the right to do that. Because if you continue to push these things, the people lose confidence in you. They don't have faith in you. They doubt in you. They can't defend you. They don't understand where you're going and why. What is the rationale? And they may well come to the conclusion that things is going to get worse. And if people believe that things is going to get worse, they become more conservative. They tend to stow. They don't take risk. And if you have a government that's not taking risk, you have a people that not too prepared to take risk, the cost of living would not drop. The cost of living is going to rise. This government of Grenada has contributed significantly to the rise in cost of living. We know we have some other impediments that is no fault of the government. For instance, the war in Europe going to cause problem with shipping. The last reaction of Donald Trump going to have some negative consequences. Unscrupulous businessmen is going to put price just because there is a rumor that price is going to go up. You're going to increase the price. But the government of Grenada single-handedly contributed to the upsurge in the cost of living in Grenada. As we closer to the end of the program, you could make a contribution to it. Remember, the number to call is 536-25-58. Now, when you say that, they know it's the truth. They see truth staring them down the truth. Like a barrel or a gun. They know it's truth. They can't defend it. But they don't even have the ability to explain it. You could try some explanation. You immediately personalize the story and start to attack the individuals that pointing out to you that the actions of government is contributing to the downward trend in confidence in the country. It is causing the cost of living to rise. More people will not be able to access basic commodities. Look at what the government did with the housing. We had 100 house units for Carriacou available. Keys given to the people in Carriacou. In Grenada was different. keys was not given. But you call up these people. You told them they could go into the financial institution and they will get a loan. You know the bank don't want to see them. You must know that because you're over 18 years. You be. After the people go in the bank, that is the few who approve. They say you have to get $75,000 to come in. Now, how could a government be so cruel? The government continued. The government said the only reason why the NNP getting assistance, they didn't say the NNP, they say others. I interpret it to be NNP. Because they interfere or because they're supportive of the NNP and they against the NDC. That is the reason. The Minister of Legal Affairs say they against transformation. They have fundamental problem with transformation. I never hear that in my life. But they lost their job. And the fear of losing your job in the country creates more conservatism in spending. So I believe the government have to check themselves. Whether or not time has left them, I don't know. I still believe they have 2 years. And they should sit down and take necessary action to drop the cost of living. They can do it, not with a stroke of the pen, but they could sit down and discuss the issues, and some areas you could safely drop the price, and it would not be that combative to you. It's very important for us as a government to take the necessary action to develop our country. If we don't, the future going to look bleak. If we don't develop our country in a positive way, the future going to look bleak. The National Democratic Congress have some example with this unorthodox behavior. And what is the result? They lost all the seats after they won all but 11. They lost all the seats. Even the Prime Minister now lost his seats. People get fed up with them after 4.5 years. People say you have to go out. Irrespective of what advanced argument they advance, in this 9th hour, the people say no. They lost. Today, the government seems hell-bent on winning. They didn't ask the old people around the neck, what is the formula? But they say, when you do these things in the country, you want your best minds. You want your best minds to participate and sit down and discuss the issue and make recommendations to the government. Your best minds, just by speaking and coming up with suggestions, the politician might hear and give it some consideration. But if the managers in your bank, the credit unions, the government top financial wizards, and in the private sector, the Chamber of Commerce, is not saying nothing, the poor politician believe he's doing something right. Normally, it takes the electorate to give you a rude awakening and throw you out. Because the vote of the economist, the vote of the lawyer and the doctor is not more valuable than the vote of the vagrant. So we say these things and we encourage government to take a second look at their policies take a second look at your actions. And if you have any genuineness about it, do your utmost to build back the people's confidence. Give them reason what you did, reason why you do it. If you did it for genuine reason, give them reason. In that way, people are going to believe that you're genuine. The government of Grenada have to stop dividing our people. If you continue to do that, you're going to have serious repercussions later on. The unity of our people is important. When our people is fractured badly, they may live in the same community, but they cannot go to Mr. This and Mr. That to ask for assistance. And say Mr. This and Mr. That can ask them for favors. So you have people in the same community and they hand in one another's throat. Government have to come in and reassure them and tone down your people and encourage them to work as one and united. Government also have to remember, when the high cost of living become unbearable, greater the temptation for violence. The young men look at the parents, they hear them cry, and then they go. They believe that my parents and my guardian and my brother survival is at stake. And they must get food. They must get things to drink. They must get basic amenities. And the boys get up, and sometimes police have to hold them for petty crimes that they themselves could commit. Once again, we want to encourage the government to bring it up. What you're doing cannot be right. Even if a lot of you members are telling you right, when they meet on the street, they head down. They can't defend the government. They can't contribute to the government policies. They don't know the government policy. And they believe, a number of people in Grenada believe that the NDC policy is divisive. It is fractious. It is unacceptable. Yes, we have a prime minister that is in his middle 40s. But it boils down to dollars and cents. It boils down to whether the people watching the savings dry up, whether the public officers are the new poor on the block. Yes, you give them money. But the unions are saying that the money you give them, you have no right to do it because you're not supposed to interfere with salary without backing in units. Gary did it in 1972, I think. But he did it through a negotiation. You are doing it here now, and you're not taking into consideration the impact. So while salary raised in some category, it makes it easier for some people to leave their job and get jobs. And those who have to employ them may demand more. They're going to demand more. Or they're going to reduce the staff, but expect greater productivity. And that only leads to conflicts. You know? As we come to the end of our program, we constantly encourage the government to take what we say, discuss it, and see what it is worth. We made the bold statement that the government of Grenada is responsible for the high cost of living in the country. And we said why. We speak about electricity, water, and telephone. We speak about government themselves raising their salary to astronomical heights in a very short space of time. We speak about the level of unproductivity from the government. Government ministers, we spoke about that. We spoke about the fact that the government is propagating the privilegencia, and in so doing, you are marginalizing and demeaning other people. While you cut the social program, and in the absence of social program, people are going to feel compelled to take the law into their own hands. We observe the deteriorating relationship between the police and the community. That could lead to violence. So we want to appeal to the government to change the direction, to change the attitude. We are a small country, 110,000 people. So we do not need a fractious government. We do not need a government that believes you could only help your people. All Grenadians supposed to be your people. You're no longer the party leader. The government is struggling to separate themselves from the party. You are the government. We watch with concern the level of traveling that the government doing. And we describe it as squandering public resources. The check and balances that was put in place to prevent disingenuous people from getting loan from government, getting assistance from government, getting money with government, getting on contracts. These people, when you create this environment, what happens? These people do that, but the reverse effect takes place in the country. And I will only appeal to the seniors in the NDC, because I know you wouldn't bother with me. You're going to only try to see if you could personally shame or disgrace or demean individuals who are going after you politically. But perhaps you could turn to your more rational and senior members of the party and hold discussion with them. Because I can inform you, if you continue on that trajectory, you more than likely would cause the economy of the country to go in free fall. You have had the experience before, you know, and you will have to sell government assets to meet current expenditure. And yes, you have the reputation of being the worst government already, but you may well be the worst government in history. We want to thank you very much for being with us today. And again, we encourage you to share our program, subscribe to Studio Galaxy, and we're back with you again next Saturday as you join us on our 2 programs.
Yeah, I want that 5 minutes still there. Got it shot today. You're some in host too. The cold meeting you?
I don't think it's a cold. I tried since yesterday. I tried to don't talk yesterday much. Because yesterday was us. But this all on.
Yeah.
The topic burned me out.
The topic burned you out.
Yeah.
But you survive it?
Just on topic.